There's been a ton of talk in the press recently about oil. Oil prices, dropping prices, negative prices. What are we going to do with oil? Our friends in Alberta and Saskatchewan are really suffering right now. They know the perils of the oil industry all too well, as they've been through this for a number of years, and now it's being compounded by the COVID-19 crisis. So we're going to spend a minute to talk to you about, first of all, what these different reference rates of oil, Brent oil, WTI, WCS, what that means. We'll just cover that really quickly. And then we're going to dive into what's actually happening in the oil market in layman's terms so that the rest of us can kind of figure this out. So starting off with these different terminologies, you hear about Brent crude oil. Well, basically that's oil that trades in Europe. Then you hear about WTI, that's Western Texas Intermediate oil. That's oil that trades in North America, and that's the probably most commonly referenced oil price that we refer to here in North America. And then in Western Canada, you have WCS, which is Western Canadian Select Oil. Okay, so those are the kind of three different references. Brent crude is the largest traded oil in the planet, but WTI is what we often speak about here in North America. Now, the news that hit today, of course, is that oil prices went negative today. They went all the way down to a minus $37 a barrel. So imagine that. And think about why would that happen? Why would oil prices be going down to a negative figure? You're going to actually pay somebody to take your oil for you. So WTI, or Western Texas Intermediate Oil, reached negative $37 today. Effectively what that meant is that if you were an owner of oil, a barrel of oil, you had to pay somebody $37 just to take your oil away from you. I can get paying to have your oil changed in your car, but imagine having to pay for someone to take your barrel of oil away from you. In fact, the most expensive real estate in North America today, I could make the argument, would be Cushing, Oklahoma. Check this place out. This is right in the heartland, right in the smack dab center of the United States, and this is where all this oil is stored. And there's an excess of oil, and there's not enough places to store it, and that's why we got into negative oil prices. Now, keep in mind, this is referencing the oil contracts for May, with it today being the 20th of April and those contracts expiring tomorrow. So what we do know is if you look into the June and July and August contracts for WTI, they're of course still trading at a positive price, but it doesn't sound as sexy as negative oil prices. So let's start with what we know. First of all, we know that the COVID-19 crisis has made oil demand plummet. People aren't driving their cars, people aren't flying in aircraft, less ships traveling around the planet, so oil demand has plummeted. And equally, we've seen this royal battle going on between Russia and Saudi Arabia over production of oil, and the Saudis, of course, made the decision to ramp up production. They've more recently announced to cut that production back through OPEC, but that also had a big surge in supply. So, of course, rising supply, falling demand, Economics 101 tells you that prices are going to drop. So this takes us back to Cushing, Oklahoma. You got to Google this place. I mean, it's amazing. The oil fields south of the town are probably bigger than the town itself. And it's fascinating that majority of all the oil produced in North America goes to this one location before it gets refined. And it's full. You know, here's an interesting fact for you. Chartering a tanker is going to cost you $350,000 a day. So it's very expensive to have a tanker. And by the way, tankers can't get into Oklahoma. It's about as far away from the ocean as you can possibly find. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening in Canada as well. So in Canada, the price of oil is still positive, but it's very, very low. By standards of WTI, Canadian oil, or Western Canadian Select Oil, WCS, is not considered as high quality oil. It's more expensive to refine and produce. It's got a higher sulfur content, and it's heavier. So that's now trading around $10 a barrel, versus they say the June oil price of WTI is currently trading around $20 a barrel. And we did see, of course, that WCS traded as low as $3 a barrel just last week. So what does this all tell us? Well, first of all, I went and filled up my car. I still have one of those gas cars, and filled up the tank on the weekend. And the price of gasoline in Vancouver was below $1 a liter for regular gasoline. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen that in years. Felt like I would transported myself back to 1999. Does this imply that something bigger is coming? Does this imply that we're heading towards a coming depression? I don't think that's necessarily the case, at least not off a metric of just oil prices alone. There's a lot of major headwinds that are going to affect the economy. They already are affecting the economy. I think just most people don't realize it right now because they're still at home, working from home, staying at home, watching Netflix from home. Here's something I want you to think about. Look, economists use oil prices as an input in their models to kind of project where we're going, but with all these sort of one-off situations such as this overflowing of oil in Cushing, Oklahoma, a COVID-19 crisis and oversupply, I don't know that this is necessarily a useful tool in economics modeling. But then again, I've spoken recently about how I don't think any models make any sense right now. And in fact, people who try and portray that they know what's going on actually don't. And if they did get it right, they just got lucky. So is now a good time to be investing in the oil sector? Because obviously oil prices have come down a lot. I can't say for sure it is. I can tell you that myself personally have invested some money into the oil market, into some individual companies. I would say that if you are going to take a step into investing in the oil sector, the energy sector, I would focus on companies that have strong balance sheets, good history of long-term cash flow, and a diversified investment strategy, because there are going to be some companies who are going to go insolvent. And despite Justin Trudeau's bailout for everyone program that he seems to be trying to implement, there are going to be certain companies that are just not going to be able to survive. What you need to make sure with your investment portfolio is you don't own those names in your portfolio. I don't have a crystal ball, neither does anybody else, but if you need some help on this, happy to chat with one of our team members, and we'll be happy to talk with you about your exposure to the energy sector and the rest of your portfolio. Good luck, and we'll give you another update soon. Thank you.